go out. Okay. Practice run in full swing. All right, y'all, another practice run. And, God is just amazing. He is teaching yours truly a whole lot regarding downsizing, because it wasn't too long ago when he said pack light. He said pack light. I was like, oh, I'm starting to understand why. And he's like, okay, now I gotta show you how to do that. Okay, so anyway, again, let those notifications go out. We are here. I appreciate y'all understanding that yesterday it wasn't that we couldn't do a live stream. I just didn't want to leave things in such a disarray. I wanted to get a bit settled. I wanted to have everything in place. I wanted to make sure we had a great topic for y'all, because, see, as we continue in the spiritual awakening in God's reality, and we start to see that it is a evil world out there. Not all of it, but the evil that's in this world, that spiritual wickedness in high places. And it becomes more and more evident the better our discernment gets. Absolutely. And so those notifications are going out. Let me go ahead and do our usual check here. Okay, so practice run in full swing, and I know that there'll be some people who will log in just to see where we're at, and whether or not we're in the car or what have you. Some people who will. Okay, there we go. And then I also wanted to see what y'all can see in the background there. Okay, so you see my little my water cooler there, and then you see our mobile office backpack. That's right. Okay, all right. Let it roll, let it roll, let it roll, because I need to tell y'all, know how I had that video about the demon of assumption? Because narcissists always assume. They always assume based on those outward appearances. Another reason why God tells us, we're not going to focus on that. The Lord focuses on the heart. Where's that heart at? So, because the narcissistic matrix out here and the narcissists are all taught that if a man or a woman looks a certain way based on outward appearances, that they are part of this industry or that industry. And I have to tell y'all that they were very surprised. Okay, well, anytime somebody is a bit too charming, that's a red flag. And so this dude was a bit too charming for business things, if you will. I'm like, okay. And so it would seem as though they were just doing their duty based on their line of work. That's fine, but it was over the top. It was a red flag. Bit too charming. Yeah, narcissism in action. I am Michelle Dickey, your host for CHA, Truth Seeker Podcast, streaming on the YouTube channel, Narcissism and Cognitive Dissonance, where trauma healing and spiritual growth are front and center while combating radio frequencies for healthier living. And the place I was at, I discovered, was another mini electrocution chamber, but on a lesser scale than the previous one. We'll talk more about that later. Not in this episode, but I'm still digesting some things about the evil of that place and the regulatory pattern I'm noticing about extended stay and then hotels that have been renovated into so-called studio apartment, but it's still a hotel room. Okay, and then reverts back to regular hotel extended stay, and once the matrix program is in place, yeah, nah. I'm catching on to this stuff now. And, but anyhow, narcissists always assume, and that's exactly what this person did. They assumed because of my makeup and the fact that it was hot outside and I knew I was making a move. When I say practice run, for those of you who don't catch it, that means I'm on the move. That means God delivered us, okay? And he is uprooting and replanting us. All right, that's what that means when I say practice run. If you're not paying attention, you're gonna miss it. But yeah, he said it's time to go. Once I recognize at least 5 monitoring spirits, I know it's about, well, 2 or 3, we start to, okay, it's about time for us to, yeah, it's time to go. It's time to go. It's time to move. Okay, so as we work closer to our goals, you all, yes, we have a plan, but in the meantime, we're on business trips, so y'all get to come with us. Yeah, it's a journey. So for those of you who catch this on the replay, you're also joining us on the journey, because when you catch the replay, exactly, at that time, yes, business trips. And because I've been wanting to take those for some time. And the Lord said, okay, now's the time. So we can do that now. But he had to get us to a place of understanding and wisdom. Okay, and then also now still learning how to pay attention when the demon of assumption is at work here, because narcissists with that spiritual wickedness in high places, they will assume based on how we look. So ladies, you know, if we're wearing a tank top, but it's not like low cut, it's not like showing anything really at all. Okay, it's just a regular tank top and a pair of shorts and my sneakers, because I had a lot of stuff to move. And I had to make several trips to the storage place and get it all situated. I said, okay. And so I wanted to be comfortable. And so I did have a little bit of makeup on because I figured I was going to go live. And then we decided, when I looked at the clock after getting in here, I said, nah, that's just not going to happen. I'm not going to have this stuff just sitting everywhere. I got to get it organized. That's how God rolls. We got to get a little organized and kind of get an idea, okay, how this is going to play out, how this is going to work, how we're going to make it work, how we're going to make it happen. Because we are basically indoor, but we are camping style, if you will. So, we're still downsizing, because you have to remember that I left not the last place, but the one before that, the mini electrocution chamber there, left that, and I had quite a bit of food still in the cupboard, so we're slowly but surely trying to eat through on that stuff, as well as maintain our fruit and veggies and protein shakes and all of that. So been quite the challenge of downsizing. And then I've always got the option of donating to a food shelter. Yeah, so that's an option as well, but we're gonna see what we can do here, and continue to learn. God's showing me how to pack light, so while we're doing that, okay, and they were a bit too nice, and then immediately, okay, calling me a friend. Like, I'm like, you just met me. No. That's another red flag. Calling me a friend, you just met me, you don't even know me. Well, then later on, they got curious and asked about what my business was. And so once I let them know I'm a minister, helping survivors overcome trauma from abuse, and a trauma specialist, yeah, that demon of assumption, well, because dude was hoping to score. No, we are 100% legit, for those who don't know that. Consulting for Heightened Awareness is a legit ministry. And we are following God's laws and principles. So, that being said, a narcissist are always going to assume. And if you, again, look at the word assume, yeah, anytime you do that, it makes an A out of you and me. So, that's why it gets them every time. And that's another reason why chosen one, that's another reason why narcissists are always wrong when they come to us, because of that demon of assumption. And then also because the matrix conditioned them to think that if you have somebody who is dressed a certain way or wears their makeup a certain way, you know, and the same applies for you men out here too. There's what they call it stereotyping for a reason. That's what assuming does, is it places a stereotype on people. And we're like, no, But yeah, consulting for heightened awareness, what you see is what you get. We're 100% legit. We are, all about that trauma healing and spiritual growth. That's getting closer to God. You know, God says don't be focused on that outward appearance, because see, that's what they do. They focus on the outward appearance, and they're going to get it wrong. Even if they've gotten it right sometimes in the past, at some point they're going to get it wrong. The narcissists go around and they always assume, just like they assume everybody thinks the same way. They assume that everybody does certain things the same way. They assume. Not a good idea. That's going to nip them in the bud real quick. So, that being said, I want to say thank y'all for hitting the thumbs up. Yes, we're talking about how narcissists assume. And they always will, because the world teaches them to do that. Yep, the world teaches them to assume. And we, chosen ones, we don't, because we don't have the demon of assumption. That's also part of being judgmental. Not just stereotyping, but judgmental too. Because they are assuming just because we are dressed a certain way that, or we look a certain way, that we're part of this or part of that, or that we do this or we do that. You know the old saying, never judge a book by its cover, right? Well, there you go. But that's what they do, because they assume. They will always assume. And welcome, yes. Well, right. Okay, have you, the double S? Well, yes, okay. Right. It makes an A out of you and me. That's why we don't assume. And it's stereotyping, but that's what the dude did. He assumed that I was a, well, let's just say he assumed I was a prostitute. So, I'm going to tell it like it is. No, I am a minister. I'm preaching the word of God. With God's wisdom. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, the opinions are like pie holes and everyone got one. You got that right. I'm going to get a comment when they come up here. Okay, and there you go. But yeah, that's what he did. He assumed that that's what I did. Because I understand that there's a lot of, listen, it's the evil world out there. So there's a lot of different industries that will have a website or a building or some front. I get that. But not here. Not at Consulting for Heightened Awareness. Not this ministry. No. And I would hope and pray, well, you know what? I'm just not even going to go there. I pray that other ministries would not do such a thing, but you never know. Because we are in the era, if you will, where 2 Corinthians 11:13 is playing out. That's where God tells us to beware of the false prophets all the time, but 2 Corinthians 11 verse 13, let me tell you, yeah, I'm going to put that out. Okay, I'm going to put that out for y'all, but we have to be mindful, all these false prophets and things like that. So I would not be surprised. Well, because narcissists are false prophets, because they lie all the time, along with going around and assuming things about people. Well, and again, like they see us as objects. And, well, it's unfortunate for them, because, no, it backfires on them. That we are, well, yeah, just because, and no, I know, I've had some people, because, well, I have some certain chokers that I would wear, and some people have made comments about that, and I was like, so? That's not the only industry that wears that stuff. There's a lot of us out here, chosen ones, who adopt sort of a goth style. There's a lot, and there's several of us on TikTok. Our fellow warrior Bree, yeah. In fact, the one choker I had with the silver heart, she was like, yeah, I like that one. Come on now. It's what sets us apart. But just because we wear those things does not mean that we're part of the industry that is most associated with that. I've seen some other chosen ones who adopt somewhat of a goth style too. So, come on. Yeah, it's just us being unique, who we are in Christ. And so, when I put on my warrior makeup, it's just part of the armor of God. And it's like I shared with another fellow warrior that when we put our warrior makeup on, it's been Jesus tested and God approved. I want y'all to put that in the comments below, even on the replay. All right, Jesus tested and God approved. Let's put that in the comments below, because that's what it is. All right, I know God don't test us; He teaches us. But you get the, where I got that from. Kid tested, never mind. But yeah, who we are in Christ, it's Jesus tested and God approved, man. Remember, because whatever we're called to do, okay, for God's kingdom, okay, whatever, the perfect will of God, all right, the perfect will of God, whatever it is, we're already qualified by God. When He calls us to do something, He already qualified us. God already qualified us to do what He's called us to do, obviously. He put it in us. So He's the one that qualifies us. There you go. You got it. All right. But they go around and they make those assumptions all the time. The demon of assumption. Man, yeah. Well, okay, I got you, Chris. He said, well, all right, I see where, okay, that goth look can be kind of sexy, if you will. I get it, okay, I get it, but that's not, I know, and that's not why we do that, but, I can see why it would do that. It would be considered, well, anyway, because it is, associated with some other industries that we're not a part of. But and it is unfortunate that the Matrix and the Narcissists have this, well, it's, when they train a horse and they put those blinders on the horse when they're training them, well, that's what these Narcissists have. It's like once they're taught something, or they have this firm belief that this particular look is associated with this particular industry, and that's it. That's black and white thinking. Yeah, that's yeah, it is. It's black and white thinking. Yeah, the blinders, exactly. That, and they don't see beyond, well, the edge of their nose, but they don't see that other people on this planet can adopt some of that style or some of that look if they choose to. But because everything gets thrown into one basket with narcissists, it's like, well, that's it. If this look is associated with this industry, that's it. They are not going to think beyond that. They can't think for themselves anyway, but that's it. And so that's going to become their long-held belief. And they will not see it any other way. They refuse to see it any other way. And that's where it gets them also, because if they don't have it, well, it's like we got an open mind, but not too open. Remember, when we did have too open of a mind, that's how a lot of garbage got in there. That's why we got to purge that subconscious. That's what we're still doing. Y'all, this is a journey. I'm still working on that too, purging a lot of worldly garbage, things that we used to think about how we're supposed to live and stuff like that. And man, I have to tell you, it's, yeah, it takes a while. It is not going to happen overnight. I mean, we've got years of conditioning to undo, you know, and that programming from the matrix that we have to unprogram. Because once we have unplugged from the matrix spiritually, then we must do this as part of the renewing of the mind. Again, for those who need a reminder, Romans 12 verse 2, we're big on that one because it's true. Okay, transformation, we got to make that change. Right? And we can't do it and conform to this world. He said, be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of the mind, so that we can do the perfect will of God. I'm paraphrasing that last part, but you get it. That transformation has to take place. It has to take place. There's no other way. And so, yes, y'all, it was a very busy day yesterday, so I got to put my foot up, put my feet up a little bit here on the table, and just, yeah, I'm gonna tell you, they don't hurt or anything. It's just they need rest. We did a lot of in and out of the car and things like that, but we got it done, you know, and that's the most important part, is we got out of another somewhat of a mini electrocution chamber. That place was, it just took a little while because, you know, the devil will allow you to heal. And no, this is not my new place. This is business trip season. Yeah, this is business trip season. Yeah, this is business trip season. This is, believe me, this is not my new place. No. We still don't have, I'll go ahead and let y'all know we're working on getting the funds that we need to get. We've got the plan, but in the meantime, we're business tripping it. That's it. Business trip here, business trip there, making up for lost time. Remember, God says we must redeem the time, for the days are evil, because while I was in the previous place, I was wanting to take business trip. But I didn't know that place was depriving my skin of oxygen at the time. And because of that, I didn't have all the energy needed in order to be able to get out here and do the business trip. Well, now I do. And we ain't letting nobody and nothing take that away again. We paying attention to this stuff. And so when I started to catch on to the refrigerator being tampered with in the previous place, only because I put in a work order. That's all. Only because I put a work order in. But I had to do that because God had to reveal that to me. That, because I was wondering about it. Because where I was at previously, y'all, just the other day, where I was at, it used to be another one of those renovated hotels turned into studio apartment. And so I wondered if all of them were programmed by the matrix to keep people prisoners like that, keeping them electrocuted inside those little units. And yeah, they are. It's just that one is done a little differently. Whereas the first one, there was a Wi-Fi box right there in the room. And so that added to it bouncing off of the fridge and the AC. Law of reflection. This previous one, how Wi-Fi was involved was the fact that we were forced to have to connect our devices to Wi-Fi in order to use them, because on cellular it sucked. So that's where that came in. However, there was a larger fridge and and then the air conditioner did not have the auto function, so it's like it stayed on constantly, and then it would get louder whenever the cooling would. You see, remember, the higher the volume, the higher the frequency, right? Okay, so there's that. And I got confirmation that some other devices that are supposed to be safety devices are programmed to go off on or around a zap day every 3 months. Every 3 months. And every 3 months, that another fear-mongering message gets thrown around out there. So, as part of the radio frequency poisoning, trying to keep the autonomic nervous system numb. Yep, your ANS. Remember, our ANS is the inner child, and that is the primary target of traumatization. And the evil out here uses that radio frequency to manipulate our ANS. And when your ANS is continuously manipulated, it can be stressed out. And it's like I said on the Patreon channel, your vagus nerve is part of your ANS. Your ANS is your threat detector. Okay? So when your autonomic nervous system is manipulated on a constant basis between highs and lows with the frequencies, it's no different than the constant love bombs and devals from the narcissist. Same thing, except the narcissists are doing the emotional manipulation while the matrix is doing the biological manipulation of our nervous systems. Yes, the ANS, because it is the easiest one to target. It's not protected by tissues and bones like the central nervous system is. And that's not a secret. You can look it up as a scientific fact. And when I learned about the ANS responding to trauma during my trauma training, so I knew about it, but after the Jezebel case study did what she did, and I'm bringing it to y'all. Every single time my ANS responds, I'm aware of it. And to what it's responding to, I know. That's why I started to pick up on something else in the previous place. Now, see, the first month that I paid for there, the devil left us alone pretty much. Tried with the outside noise and pestilence again and stuff like that, trying to stress out the vagus nerve. But no, we started to, our physical healing was picking up a lot. And that could be seen. Now, I don't know, because I had the work order in, and so then when I paid for a second month, but God had us leave a whole week early. And so we got a week refunded. You see, because that's, right, it's an extended stay hotel, and I let them know that I didn't need that final week. I got somewhere else I can go. And, but I needed, after I unplugged the refrigerator, because I had my cooler full of ice. That was the only way I was going to get it to shut up and calm my, and I know what they were doing, because when it got louder and louder, because what was happening was, I don't know how they did it, but they manipulated the refrigerator on the inside, okay, to where it would not, right, I believe a breaker box is involved here, where they were turning it on and off at certain times, okay, just to keep enough cool in the fridge to give off the appearance. It still works, but the freezer was working. And then, like, after a few days of that, that's why the maintenance person and some other monitoring spirits kept hanging around on that side of the building, because they knew certain times if I come out and go for my walk. And so that's why they were doing that, because that wasn't normal for them. They didn't usually do that at that time of day. And that maintenance person that is responsible didn't usually hang out on that side of the building. So hello, ding, ding, ding. That's why I did the live stream there about how they couldn't be more obvious. They tell on themselves. And so I knew exactly what was going on, because at first I said I could just take my hearing aids out and get my work done, because I figured maybe it would quit at some point. Well, after 2 days of that, I started noticing my nervous system responding again. I said, wait a second, we've already overcome that. And so I said, all right, that's it. So that next morning, that's right, I went and I got a styrofoam cooler and some more ice. And I took everything out of the freezer and I put it on ice. And another cooler. And I unplugged it. I said, there, it's going to have to be defrosted anyway, so I did them a favor. Because what happened? Well, the fan froze up. That's what happened. The fan for the fridge got frozen. It froze up. And so the freezer and it was just getting louder and louder. The higher the volume, the higher the frequency. And so, yeah, they were zapping me again. And I was like, no, we're not going to allow that. Bloop! Because they were trying to force me to make a practice run sooner than necessary, because I had paid for a whole month. So I didn't have to leave right then. I said, I'm not going to do it. This is why I want to tell y'all. I also did that live stream about the fact that we are working on God's terms now, not theirs. This is what being bold looks like. I said, I'm already familiar with that pattern. I've already been exposed to that. No, no, and no. I'm going to take the 3 days after unplugging that. I'm going to take 3 more. I'm going to take the 3 days I need, because I know that's how long it takes right? I've done it. Okay, if you are in an environment where radio frequency is higher than usual and you're exposed to it for 9 hours straight, it'll take 27 hours for your body to return to normal. That's for somebody right there. It's going to take 27 hours. Don't go back into that environment. But it's going to take 27 hours for your body to return to what's considered its normal. Okay? It's going to, right. And so I said, no. I said, we got this. I'll just go get some bags of ice. So all the tax right off anyway, the business trip. So I said, okay, we got this. And so that's what I did. I kept everything on ice. And like camping. That's why I said it's camping. I mean, it's a no-brainer. I said the only way that I was going to put a stop to it, and I did, is unplug it. That's the only thing I could do. And I said, well, it's going to have to be unplugged because it needs to be defrosted anyhow. But what I did is, in the fridge, I put my hand up underneath, where it's supposed to, the freezer is supposed to drip and defrost itself. It's supposed to. That's what it says on there. It's supposed to not frost up in there. But because it was leaking water, and I put in a work order for that. The reason it was leaking water is because it's off balance. The fridge was leaning a little bit, right, it was leaning to the left and downward a little bit. So that's why the water was trickling out. It didn't have anything to do with the fan or what have you. That's why that's why the devil got mad, because I took away food for his animated salt molecule. That's what that was about. On the spiritual side, or whatever, physical side, got mad at that. And not only that, because I put in a work order. They don't like it. But that's what gave them access to do that. You see, that's what entered into agreement, if you will. And anyhow, so when I don't know what they did, but they caused it to freeze up like that with the whatever manipulation they were doing. Because when you flip a breaker switch on and off like that, at some point it's going to freeze up. At some point, because you're confusing the machine. It's like, it's kind of like when the autonomic nervous system is constantly manipulated with radio frequency, at some point it becomes confused. Okay, what am I supposed to do? This or this or this or this, and it becomes frozen. Same thing with the refrigerator fan. Same concept. And so it's not a coincidence. But yeah, that's what they did. Okay, that's what they did. And so I said, okay, I see what they're trying to do. But I said, no, I'm leaving on my terms, not theirs. That's why I did that live stream for y'all to let you know that you do not allow narcissists to force you out of someplace when you don't have to yet. I was like, hold on a minute. I said, we were doing just fine. We need 3 days to let to let the ANS recoup from that. I said, I need 3 days. And so we took it because I already paid for those days. So I was like, no, you ain't forcing me out. But that's what they were trying to do, because if I had let them do that, then it would have further stressed out my vagus nerve. And so it would prolong the healing. It would take longer the next go round for us to exactly return to normal. That's why I tell y'all, patterns tell a story. And that's how it was, patterns. I was paying attention to what they were doing. Because being there for a whole month, I got to know what was considered somewhat normal operation for them. And then, of course, some unruly people, that very rude narcissists for that matter. Oh my gosh, they're extremely rude. They had no respect whatsoever for other people staying at the hotel who didn't live there. You know what I'm saying? They had no respect whatsoever. And I said, my goodness, I said, I don't know. It is what it is. But insecurity is loud, right? There you go. But that's what went down there. So I will be uncovering more of that later on. But I just wanted to give y'all the brief synopsis of what we discovered there. And that we got confirmation that that's part of the Matrix's programming for radio frequency poisoning. And so, yeah. Yep. And it's nobody's business, really, the look that we choose. Yeah, that's true. That's very true. It is really nobody's business. Why or how or what. It really is nobody else's business. You're absolutely right about that. And no, I'm going to... I'll answer your question. Did he blurt out the question if I was? No, he didn't. But I could tell by his mannerism. Haha, another word, and then ism. But I could tell by his mannerisms and just being way too charming and then calling me a friend right away. Yeah, that don't fly. And so it did sound a bit rowdy over there. I know, because well, that's the evil out there in the world. And I mean, I know here so far overnight it's been a little quieter, but with the occasional just the occasional person just not outside hanging out, but walking by and just saying something, you know. And then of course the aircraft, because I'm located not too far from the other place, but on the other side of the highway. And so the aircraft, because going, like, when you go out and you go to the highway and you go catty corner, anyway, down on that street, back away, there is a, I don't know what kind of airport it is, but when I've taken my walks in that direction, it looks like private jets and private planes. So, and I see a lot of those, especially on my walks. So I don't know what it is, but it's not, I don't think it's it's not commercial airline. It's something else. It looked more like private jets and stuff. It is an aviation yard, but I see some helicopters going there too. So again, like I said, it's pretty busy, but not overly so. I do still see the Project Bluebeam planes, yeah, but that is over there. So we get the occasional aircraft thingy, and I can hear it in here. It's no big deal. I mean, we're used to that in this area. But, and so, listen, you got to remember something about Jezebel, okay? They passed the baton in the spiritual. And then you have to remember that where there was bruising on my leg, there's what is considered a little bit of, it can be considered a scar of sorts, meaning a little discoloration, but it doesn't hurt. There's no bruise there. But when I stand on my leg, Okay, when I stand on it, it puts pressure on those. So they appear and they look worse than they actually are. Again, there's no bruise there. It's just a little bit of the residual, I call it scarring, that is healing now. And it don't hurt. But that's what they could see. Remember, LED light. And so the devil's all about appearances. And so because they looked worse, they look worse than they really are. And well, now, like, they're like barely there. But you have to remember, narcissists are only going to fixate on and remember and see that first thing. That's it. No matter how far we've come along in healing, no matter how much of it has healed and is gone, they're still going to see, when I arrived there almost 2 months ago, they're still to see that. That's what they're going to see. And then the way that I was walking, a little off, but not anymore. All of that has healed since then. And so, also, yeah, there was an air pocket that was preventing this motion. But guess what? Right. And finally, everybody said, oh, I felt it too. I was like, good. That's gone now. So, yeah, it was just, and weight training and things like that. So I know what's going on with this body. And so the air pocket. So what happened was, while the air pocket was there, I was walking a little bit, like not crooked, but just enough. And I think they could see that. So it wasn't necessarily, the devil's targeting our health, but what they saw were vulnerabilities in their mind. And so they decided to take it up a notch. And then also out of spite and demon of jealousy and everything else, because they can't stand to see the fact that chosen ones, we keep showing up. Chosen ones, we keep detoxing. Chosen ones, we keep healing. Chosen ones, we keep leveling up. We keep it moving. They cannot understand that. And so what the devil was trying to do, and then we're getting back to posting across social media, okay, at least once a week across all platforms that we are on. I highly encourage y'all to check out that My Social page. The CHA social platform page is listed in the description below for quicker access. So you can see we're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Quora still. So, that's it. And so they could see that. And because that shows that we're healed enough that we can do that, but the devil don't like it. He don't care that we up here preaching and ministering and all. They don't care about that. Okay? He's trying to make it appear as though he does. No, he don't care about that. Because he uses the Bible as a movie script. He is only after our health. That's it. Let me tell y'all, I used to think that he was attacking yours truly because we're up here ministering and things like that. No. Because the Matrix don't care what we do as long as they put money in his pocket. So that's not it. It's our health that he's targeting. Can't stand the fact that, y'all, listen. I had that Jezebel case study ask me, she made the statement, okay, she couldn't believe that I don't have a family doctor. Wow. I was like, in my mind, like, man, I ain't had one of those in years. But you know what's nice about that? I do have a doctor. His name is Jesus, our Lord and Savior. That's my doctor. Glory be to God. And so, I also have, I have found a couple of holistic, all-natural doctors on TikTok. So I do follow them. And that's where we got the ice pack tip I got from one of them. Ice pack right here. And it regulates your whole nervous system. The ice pack right on that thyroid. Right on your thyroid. Ice pack. If you're feeling stressed out or tense, put that ice pack right there. A bag of frozen veggies. That's what she used. Bag of frozen veggies. Right there. Dr. Mary Beth. Yes. And I'm going to tell you. Well, and my late grandpa. Yes, he was one of them too. He was a medical doctor, but he chose the all-natural path. He chose the homeopathic path. And he talks about that subconscious mind, how you can rewire it, you can reprogram that subconscious mind through repetition. And that's like, we teach that. And I said, I think it's great because it's amazing how, in a really weird way, yours truly is kind of carrying on his legacy. But I didn't know that we were doing that, even though I'm not a medical doctor. But I am a trained trauma specialist, qualified by God, though. I've done a lot of research and tried and true techniques. And then I also have a master's degree in forensic toxicology. So my area of healthier living with healthier eating and nutrition, hello. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist when you know about radio frequency poisoning, how it can have a negative impact on our health, only when the body's internal environment meets the right criteria, though. So, but I think it's really amazing. Now, and that's what they would do, and they were just honing in on what they considered vulnerabilities of the physical, and they were just trying to prolong they assumed, after all, what do narcissists do? They assume that we are in pain and suffering, and we're not. We haven't been. Because that's all part of your mindset also. I mean, it's natural to feel some kind of discomfort here and there through the detoxing, of course, because you're like, oh, you're getting rid of air pockets, so you're going to feel a little bit of a cramp here and there, but very brief. That little bitty cramping that you experience during the detox, that's just your body releasing an air pocket. That's all. See, when you know it that simple, you're like, oh, so you don't dwell on it. Don't dwell on it. It's just, it is. And so yours truly was, every now and again, a little bit of a cramp here and there. But we're like, oh, okay, that just lets us know that the air pocket letting loose finally. And so that's what you want, though, because the air pocket's never mind. I'm just like, wow. But the devil knows that. And so he targets our health. He's not targeting the ministry. He don't care about that. He doesn't want people to heal. He doesn't want people to be healthy. See, when you heal from trauma, you're able to stay mentally, emotionally, and spiritually healthy. Right? Well, that matters. He don't want you to have spiritual health, emotional health, mental health. He don't want you to be okay. He wants you to be mentally unstable along with his narcissist. But he also does not want you to be physically healthy. And that is really the primary battle for them. For the devil and the narcissist, the battle for them is physical. When it's not. Chosen ones, we know the battle we face is spiritual. And so they're targeting our health is what they're doing. With all that radio frequency poisoning, obviously. Okay? And it's the same old, nothing new under the sun. So that's why I said when you finally learn the pattern, they got nothing else. See, that's the thing. I knew it too. When I unplugged that fridge, I said, that's all they got. That's why I said, no. I said, I will leave. I'll be ready to leave and go to another place on God's terms, on my terms. I said, we are not going to allow them to do that to our autonomic nervous system. Not over and over again. That's the power and authority on the inside of us to not allow them to do that. When you know what it is that's being used to try and manipulate the ANS to keep you on edge, even if you're not on edge, but your nervous system is, it gives off the appearance as though you are still traumatized when you're not. The devil's all about appearances, but never forget, if the ANS stays in that condition long enough, and if you don't know, if you're not aware of your autonomic nervous system doing that, you don't know your ANS is responding, okay, to things that are not a threat, but is thinking that it's a threat, but it's not, and it continues to do that over and over again, and you are not aware of it because your ANS is numbed, eventually you're going to follow. Because your thoughts control your ANS. Your thoughts are spiritual power. I teach this a lot for a reason. And yours truly is a living testimony to this. That's why you got to be careful what you're thinking. That's why I tell y'all, during the detox, don't be dwelling. If it's a little discomfort, just know that, okay, that cramp, that's the air pocket releasing. Oh, good. Keep it moving. Don't dwell on it. Let the body do. It'll go away. It always does. And pretty quickly, too. But that's how the righteous are bold as the lion. I said, they are not going to force me out of here sooner than I have to go. I said, I'm going to make sure my ANS is good. And that's exactly what we did. And then there was some other thing throughout the day yesterday that occurred or whatever. I said, oh, no, 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 and no. So when the dude being too charming, for one thing, I was like, Then trying to call me a friend, But once I got in here, and I said, okay, we got to see how we're, God says we got to learn how to pack light. We got more business trips. So he said, we got to learn how to pack light. So he said, I got to get you out of that extended stay place because there's a lot of space in there. There's a lot of space in there. Even though it's a small space living, there's still a lot of space in there. And there was. And so he's like, all right, let's get you in a regular hotel room and teach you how to pack light. So I was like, glory be to God. All right, go and teach me how to pack light. So he already started teaching me. But then I saw once I started, I was thinking that everything I had in there was going to fit in one trip. Not yet. Not just yet. Almost, though. I tell y'all, it was pretty good, though. Almost. He said, right, so yesterday evening, after I got some things squared away, he said, I need you to get 2 more totes. 2 more of them small totes. He said, I need you to get 2 more of those. It's like, all right, we're going to... because I saw what would work in the back seat versus the trunk. And so now we have we're reworking some things so that we don't have to make trips to the storage unit every time we go on a new business trip. Yeah. Well, and a lot of it, you all, is just food that I had, that I had in that other mini electrocution chamber, and a lot of space, apparently. I mean, you'd be surprised. But there was a lot of cupboard space. And yours truly, well, yeah. And I was like, man, I can't believe I still have that. I see the abundance. Believe me, I see the abundance. And so that's a big part of where we're at with that. But the whole thing with what they did, they don't realize the blessing in disguise there. They don't realize without having the refrigerator there, I learned how many things don't have to go in the fridge after being open. Glory be to God. Yep, because, well, if you're going to go on business trips, regular hotel rooms, you don't know what size fridge you're going to get from room to room, right? There you go. So if I want to have ketchup and mustard, right, okay, good, it's in a tote. It don't have to go in there. It's all right. It's vinegar-based. So we talk more about that on the Patreon channel. Y'all can unlock exclusive content on that Patreon channel for as little as $5 a month. We talk about that. We talk about how I learned during that season when they tampered with the fridge to turn the frequency up, and then we finally had to unplug it. But during all of that, I was learning. I was like, okay, what else does not have to go in there? And that's the fun part. See, they don't realize this. See, the devil don't. This is how God takes what the devil dishes out and flips it for his glory. That's exactly what we did. We took it. It's like, all right, so the devil dished that out. Okay, we got to unplug that thing. So, okay. Now, what does not have to go in the fridge? What else? Once I learned the ketchup and mustard don't have to go in there after being open, I said, okay, what else? What else, condiment-wise, does not have to go in? And then, because yours truly was taking business trips a while ago anyhow, I had baggies of packs of mayonnaise. Ding, 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 ding. So I didn't have to get no more mayonnaise. I got packs of mayonnaise if I want mayonnaise. So, there's that. And depending on how long I'm going to stay at that particular place on that business trip, as to whether I get a small container of mayonnaise to put in the smaller fridge. So, that's the blessing in disguise there. So we learned a lot. Yeah, I learned that there's a lot of things that don't have to go in the fridge after it being open, and I'm still wowed by that. And it's all part of purging the subconscious mind of a lot of the things that we've been lied to since birth about our food and things like that, because the devil's always targeting our health. And so I did see, yes, okay, I saw our fellow warrior Jan Campbell popped in. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, okay, so, okay, so after we got done talking about that, let's see, the goth makeup after the Egyptian makeup for the eyes. You know, I guess you could say I got a little bit of that style from the Egyptian side. I'm not sure exactly how we ended up with this as the warrior makeup, but it does kind of resemble an Egyptian style. So yeah, I can see where you got that from. And so yeah, that predatory behavior is how narcissists, yeah, they want to hone in and try and take advantage of what they perceive as a vulnerability. And so, physical or otherwise, you're absolutely right. Very predatory behavior. Absolutely. I want y'all do not forget that. Okay? That these narcissists are extremely predatory. If they see something that they think is a vulnerability, like a little discoloring, but they didn't know. I was like, dude, there's no bruise there. What are you trying to do? Oh, they're trying to get, exactly. So, it's crazy, but you did have one. Suppose you should find a new one. That's up to you. That's up to you if you think you need one. I basically, because I know what happened to me and I know about radio frequency poisoning, so I leave it to God. If something occurs that really does demand that kind of attention, okay. I mean, but like I said, I've already looked around and I found one place that is, they are a holistic practice. I mean, they do things like acupuncture and stuff. And I also have a business card from another practitioner who also is into the homeopathic holistic side. So I have those on hand. That's what I look for. So if, okay, any of that is needed, I have some go-tos myself, but I've already done the research and I've made sure that they are homeopathic, okay, and on the holistic side. Like all natural remedies, basically, and stuff. So that's that. And so yours truly is, like I said, I've got that information on hand if needed. I mean, I'm going with the God flow. And I already told y'all my doctor's name is Jesus. So that's the first and foremost. If I'm guided to go, I've got the information. I've got the contact if needed. But I know what's going on. See, that's what I'm saying, is that we're detoxing and bruises heal. And I know what happened to me. And I know that all of the water being trapped between the skin and the muscle, I found out about that, oh gosh, not too long ago, but long enough to where I was like, okay, I see what's up now. And I can tell how my body's responding to not just me, but frequency. And I pay attention to how it feels after eating something, how it feels. That in tune. Yeah, very much. So, because the body talks to you, but you got to be listening. You got to be listening. You got to be willing to go, oh, okay, it doesn't want any more of that. We're full. We're done. And then, like a great example I have for y'all is, I thought we were going to be doing a particular meal for dinner, and God piped up. He said, He said, go with the God flow. And he said, we're just going, because we had a really decent brunch. Yeah, pretty heavy and pretty filling. And he said, go with the God flow. Let the body work on that. That's what he said. He said, let the body work on that. I said, okay. He said, sip on that water. He said, let the body work on that. We good. And rest. He said, I want you to rest. So I wanted to get on here and I wanted to talk to y'all about that, because the demon of assumption is a real thing, and narcissists will always assume. The evildoers will always go around assuming, and based on what they see on outward appearance wise, they're assuming, okay, that discoloration is worse than it really is. They are assuming because in their mind they think everything is worse than it really is. They don't understand that no, it's not, because we're not dwelling on it. We know what it is. We know what's going on. We engage in the self-care that we need. We get what we need, and we keep it moving. We keep it moving. So, I don't know. Genetic memory. I know there is such a thing, but as far as my grandpa's interest being passed down in my genes, who knows? Who knows? I will tell you that it's incredible. It really is incredible how he did practice all natural medicine the way he did, and how I'm so into that myself with all y'all, and how a big part of our movement to combat radio frequency for healthier living. And I said, wow, it all ties in line with purging that subconscious mind of all them lies. So, yeah. Okay, really bad air pocket in your, eating tuna. Okay. I don't know. I don't know, Chris, what the issue with tuna could be. Well, I couldn't tell you. Okay, I could not tell you. But if you, the alternative for the same or similar omega-3 and fatty acid and iodine, replacing the tuna with salmon instead. You can try that and see what happens. Salmon is a great alternative if tuna is giving you a fit. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. It could be. Yep. And there you go. That's the other thing. Thank you, Chris. Does the hotel have a nice restaurant? No. This is not one of them hotels. This is just a practice round in the practice run to pack lighter. That's all this is. But it is still a business trip, because I have to learn how to do that. And so that's what we're working on. Because I can only eat so much in one day. And so, like I said, I've already, but yeah, when you are taking business trips and things like that, and you're on the move, it definitely does help you learn what is most essential to keep. Like my weight training setup, that is a must keep, right? Okay. And so there you go. That's that. And I wanted to just go ahead and salmon. And they also, I don't recommend canned items, but sometimes it is yours truly got to do it too. But to a minimum. But I do see that they have salmon in the can. And they also have pouches too. So there's canned salmon already cooked. You can use it. I've done that with, it's like how you make a tuna salad. I've made salmon salad with canned salmon. And it's just as good. So I would just go that route for a little while, and then and see, because I do know that during the detoxing and even beyond, if we consume a little too much salt and it doesn't get out, there is your vagus nerve it is up in here, right? And so if your vagus nerve is stressed out just enough, that could make it a little bit difficult to swallow, but not too difficult. You can still swallow, but you can feel. But if your vagus nerve is stressed out, then that can play a role too. So that's why I was like, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of things to factor in, but if you can handle salmon and digest it just fine, then I would definitely go that route. And then other fish too, like you have cod, you've got halibut. If you can get access to rainbow trout, I mean, there's all kinds of highly I mean, your fish I mean, Jesus did what? Right, the fish and the bread to feed 5,000. Okay, the abundance, he multiplied. So there you go. There's a lot of different options. Well, it is going to depend on what you prefer, you know, because we don't like all kinds of fish out there. So, you know, but I'm just giving you a few to where you can still get your omega-3 and fatty acids. All right. So there's that. Yeah, trout is another one. There you go. And there's salmon paste. Yep, there you go. Thinking outside the box. Okay, that's what it's all about, chosen one. Iron sharpening iron in our growing community. Okay, so we're wrapping this one up. And, yep, cod's a good one. There you go. And again, don't forget halibut. And, oh, haddock. Haddock. Haddock is another great fish. So, all right. And, okay, so it's the quality of the tuna. Okay. Okay, the quality of the tuna inside the tin is not very good. Okay, well, that could play a role as well. So, okay, you've got some frozen haddock. There you go. There you go. You get your omega-3 just fine. And so tuna is not an essential for you. And that's okay. But you can always try again later. I can see that you like it, but it's just for whatever reason your body's not responding well to it. I don't know. But the best thing to do if you know your body's not responding too well to something that you're eating, well, you just want to stop eating that for at least a little while. And there's other sources of the omega-3s and stuff that you can get. You know, from fish and stuff. So, and then you can try again later and see if your body's still doing it. I mean, you never know what's going on, really, sometimes, especially when you are combating radio frequency, your vagus nerve. Is it stressed out a little bit or not? I mean, yeah, a lot of things to think about. But there you go. And then also, real quick, reminder, recap, pay attention to the demon of assumption and don't allow it to trick you. And don't fall for the red flags. If they are too charming, that's the red flag. If they call you a friend right after they met you, or even within 15 minutes of meeting you and they call you a friend, red flag. So watch out for those things, okay? I don't care who it is. I don't care who it is. Yeah, watch out for those, all right? That's a narcissist, and, you know, it doesn't matter. It is what it is, because only a narcissist would do something like that. So you keep on keeping on. Keep it moving. You know how we're big about that. Keep it moving. All right, everybody. I'm sending love and light to all fellow warriors. Thank you for watching, listening, and for your continued support. Till next time, let's show some gratitude to the Heavenly Father. And you keep being you. In Jesus' name, amen.